Hello, everyone. I hope you are all doing well today. It's so nice to see all of you here, ready to learn something new. Today, we are going to talk about something very exciting, learning English. Do you know why learning English is so important? English is a language that people speak all around the world. When you learn English, you can talk to people from different countries. You can make new friends, understand new cultures, and learn many interesting things. English is also very helpful if you want to get a good job, travel to new places, or even study in other countries. But I know that learning English can feel hard at the beginning. Maybe you think, I don't know where to start, or I will make too many mistakes. Don't worry, it is normal to feel that way. Everyone feels like that when they start something new. To help you understand that learning English is possible for everyone, I want to share a story with you. It is a story about a young man who started learning English as a beginner, just like many of you. He faced problems, but he didn't give up. He worked hard, step by step, and in the end, he reached his goal. This story will show you that you can do it too. If he could learn English, so can you. So sit back, listen carefully, and let's learn from his story together. Let me tell you about my journey with learning English. When I first started, I was a complete beginner, just like many of you. I didn't know any English words, and I felt very nervous about learning. I used to think, how can I ever speak English? It feels so hard, and I don't know where to begin. Every time I tried to learn, I felt confused. I remember buying a big English book, thinking it would help me. But when I opened it, I couldn't understand anything. The words were too difficult, and the sentences felt like a puzzle I couldn't solve. I felt frustrated and thought, maybe I'm not smart enough to learn English. When I was around people who could speak English, I felt shy and scared. I didn't want to speak because I thought I would make mistakes. I imagined people laughing at me or correcting me in a way that made me feel small, so I stayed quiet. Even though I wanted to join the conversation, I didn't have the confidence to say anything. One time, I remember seeing a tourist in my town. They asked me, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the train station is?" I understood what they were saying, but I didn't know how to answer. I stood there, trying to think of the right words, but nothing came out. The tourist smiled and walked away, and I felt so embarrassed. I kept thinking, if only I could speak English, I could have helped them. That moment stayed with me. I realized that I didn't want to feel helpless anymore. I wanted to learn English, but I didn't know how to start. I felt like I was standing at the bottom of a tall mountain, and climbing it seemed impossible. But deep down, I told myself, I have to try. Even if it's hard, I want to learn. This is how my journey began, full of doubts and fears, but also with a small hope that I could do it if I found the right way. When I finally decided to learn English, I felt nervous but excited. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I told myself, this time I will not give up. I will take it step by step. So I started small, and I want to tell you every detail about how I began my English learning journey. Step 1. Starting with simple words. The first thing I did was focus on learning basic words. I knew that trying to learn too much at once would make me feel confused, so I chose a few words that I could use every day. For example, I learned words like hello, goodbye, thank you, and sorry. These are the kinds of words we use often, and they were easy to remember. Then, I looked around my house and thought about the things I see every day. I learned the words for those things, like chair, table, window, and door. To help me remember, I wrote the words on small pieces of paper and taped them to the objects. Every time I saw the word door on my door, I said it out loud. Door. Over time, I started to remember these words without needing the paper. Step 2. Building simple sentences. Once I knew a few words, I wanted to start using them in sentences. At first, my sentences were very short, like, "This is my book," or "I like apples." I didn't worry about making long sentences or using perfect grammar. My goal was just to practice speaking and feel comfortable using English. To help myself, I wrote down simple sentences in a notebook and read them out loud every day. For example, I wrote, "My name is John. I live in a small house. Today is sunny." I stood in front of a mirror and practiced saying these sentences. At first, it felt a little silly to talk to myself, but it helped me improve my confidence. I imagined I was talking to someone else, and it made me feel less shy. Step 3. Listening to English. I realized that listening to English was very important if I wanted to learn faster. So, I started watching simple videos on YouTube. I chose videos for beginners, like cartoons or short English lessons. At first, I couldn't understand everything they were saying, but I didn't give up. I turned on the subtitles so I could see the words while I listened. For example, if the video said, "How are you?" I paused it, repeated the phrase, and then played it again. I kept doing this until I could say it correctly. This practice helped me learn how words sound and how to pronounce them. I also listened to English songs with simple words. One of my favorite songs was "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." The words were easy and the melody was fun. I sang along even if I didn't sound perfect. Singing helped me improve my pronunciation and made learning more enjoyable. Step 4. Practicing every day. One thing I promised myself was to practice every single day, no matter how busy I was. Some days I only practiced for 10 minutes, but I made sure to do something. I read words, listened to a video, or wrote simple sentences. I told myself, learning English is like planting a tree. If I water it every day, it will grow. But if I stop, it will dry up. This thought kept me motivated. Step 5. Using flashcards. To remember new words, I made flashcards. On one side, I wrote the word in English, and on the other side, I wrote the meaning in my language. For example, one card said, front, apple, back, a fruit that is red or green. I carried these cards with me everywhere. When I was on the bus, waiting in line, or sitting at home, I took out my cards and practiced. Flashcards helped me learn faster because I could review words anytime. Step 6. Talking to myself. At the beginning of my journey, I didn't have anyone to practice speaking with. So I started talking to myself in English. For example, when I woke up, I said, "Good morning. Today is a new day." When I cooked, I said, "I am making rice." I also described what I was doing, like, "I am walking to the store. I see a cat on the street." Talking to myself helped me feel more confident, and it made English a part of my daily life. Step 7. Writing in English. I wanted to improve my writing, so I started keeping a simple journal. Every night, I wrote about my day in short sentences. For example, I wrote, "Today was sunny. I went to the park. I saw a dog. At first, my sentences were very basic, but over time, I started adding more details. Writing helped me practice using the words I was learning, and it made me feel proud to see my progress. Step 8. Being patient. One of the hardest things about learning English was being patient with myself. There were times when I felt like I wasn't improving, and I wanted to give up. But I reminded myself that learning a language takes time. I told myself, it's okay to make mistakes. Every mistake is a chance to learn. When I felt frustrated, I took a deep breath and said, I will keep going, step by step. Step 9. Celebrating small wins. Whenever I achieved something, even something small, I celebrated. For example, the first time I said hello to someone in English, I felt so proud. I thought, I did it. I can do more. Celebrating these small successes kept me motivated and gave me the confidence to keep learning. Step 10. Never giving up. The most important part of my journey was not giving up. There were many times when I felt like I wasn't good enough, but I reminded myself why I started. I thought about the tourist I couldn't help and how much I wanted to speak English confidently. Learning English is like building a house. You start with one brick, then another, and slowly the house takes shape. My journey was full of small steps, and each step brought me closer to my goal. And remember, if I can do it, so can you. Just take it one step at a time, and you'll see how far you can go. As I continued learning English, I started noticing small changes in myself. These changes didn't happen all at once, but step by step, I began to see the results of my efforts. Each little achievement gave me the motivation to keep going, and I want to share these moments with you. Understanding simple words. In the beginning, I didn't know many English words. I remember looking at a menu in English once and feeling completely lost. But as I kept learning, things started to improve. One day, I was walking in my neighborhood and I saw a sign that said, "Open." At that moment, I smiled because I understood what it meant. I started noticing words everywhere, in books, on posters, and even on my phone. Words like hello, exit, a stop, and welcome became familiar to me. Each time I recognized a word, I felt a little spark of happiness. It was like solving a small puzzle, and it showed me that I was making progress. Speaking my first sentences. At first, I was very shy about speaking English. I didn't want to make mistakes, so I kept quiet most of the time. But one day I decided to try. I was at the market, and a tourist asked me, "Where's the train station?" I hesitated for a moment, but then I said, "Go straight," then left. The tourist smiled and said, "Thank you." I was so happy. Even though my sentence was very short, I had communicated in English. That small moment gave me so much confidence. I thought, if I can do this, I can learn even more. Writing my first sentence, I still remember the first sentence I ever wrote in English. "My name is John." It was a very simple sentence, but it felt like a big achievement for me. Over time, I started writing more. At first, it was just short sentences like, "I like coffee," or "Today is sunny." But soon I began to write about my day. For example, I wrote, "I went to the park today. I saw many flowers. I bought apples and bananas at the market." Each time I wrote something new, I felt proud of myself. It showed me that I was getting better. Understanding conversations. One day I was sitting in a cafe, and I heard two people talking in English. At first, I couldn't understand anything, but as I listened carefully, I started recognizing some words. They were saying coffee, work, and weekend. I couldn't understand the whole conversation, but I understood the main idea. They were talking about their plans for the weekend. It felt amazing to realize that I could catch bits and pieces of real conversations. Watching a video in English. When I first started watching English videos, I needed subtitles to understand. I watched cartoons and short videos with simple words. But one day, I decided to challenge myself. I watched a short cartoon without subtitles. At first it was hard and I missed a lot of words, but I kept watching, and soon I realized I could follow the story. When the characters said, "Hello," or "What is this?" I understood. It was a proud moment for me. Helping someone with English. A few months into my learning journey, a friend asked me for help. They were filling out a form in English and they didn't understand one of the questions. I looked at it and realized I could help. The question was, "What is your address?" I explained it to my friend and they were so grateful. It made me feel proud that my English skills were now useful to others. Reading my first book. One day, I found a very simple book for beginners. It had short sentences and pictures to help explain the story. At first, I felt nervous because I had never read a book in English before. I opened the book and read the first page. "This is a dog. The dog is big." I smiled because I understood it. I kept reading, and by the end of the book, I felt so accomplished. It was my first time finishing an entire book in English, and it made me want to read more. Understanding a song. I always loved music, but listening to English songs was difficult for me at first. The words were fast and I couldn't understand them. But as I learned more English, I decided to try again. I listened to a simple song with slow lyrics. At first, I only recognized a few words, but after listening to it many times, I started understanding the meaning of the song. It felt like magic. I even sang along, and it made me feel so happy. The biggest achievement for me wasn't just learning words or sentences, it was the confidence I gained. I started feeling comfortable using English in my daily life. Whether it was speaking to someone, writing a message, or reading something, I felt less scared. Each small step showed me that learning English wasn't impossible. It just took time and patience. And the best part? Every achievement, no matter how small, made me feel proud. These achievements reminded me why I started learning English. They showed me that progress might be slow, but it's real. Every new word, every sentence, every conversation was a step forward. And if I can do it, so can you. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about trying, learning, and improving, one step at a time. Learning English wasn't always easy. Along the journey, there were many moments when I felt frustrated or lost. But looking back, I see how these challenges helped me grow and become stronger. I want to share these moments with you because they show that even when things get tough, you can still move forward. One of the hardest parts of learning English was speaking. I was scared to make mistakes. Sometimes when I tried to speak, I felt like I couldn't find the right words. I worried that people wouldn't understand me, or worse, that they would laugh at me. But then I remembered something important. Everyone makes mistakes when learning something new. Even native English speakers make mistakes sometimes. I realized that I had to keep speaking, even if it wasn't perfect. Slowly, I became more confident. One day, I was at the store, and I had to ask for help. My heart was racing as I said, "Excuse me, where is the milk?" The store worker smiled and pointed to the aisle. It was a small conversation, but it felt huge to me. It showed me that speaking wasn't as scary as I thought. Another challenge was listening. In the beginning, English speakers seemed to talk so fast. I could catch only a few words here and there, and it made me feel lost in conversations. But I didn't give up. Instead, I decided to practice listening in small steps. I started by listening to simple songs or watching cartoons with slow speech. At first, I didn't understand much, but I kept listening and slowly improved. There was a day when I was watching a movie, and suddenly I understood a whole sentence without needing subtitles. It felt amazing. I still didn't understand everything, but I could catch enough to follow the story. It showed me that if I kept practicing, my listening skills would improve too. Sometimes learning English felt slow, and I wondered if I would ever reach my goals. There were days when I felt like giving up. But I reminded myself of why I started this journey in the first place. I wanted to speak with others, to learn new things, and to see the world in a new way. I also learned to celebrate the small victories. When I understood a new word or spoke a sentence in English, I felt proud. These little moments of success kept me motivated and reminded me that progress was happening, even if I couldn't always see it right away. At times, it felt like there were too many words to remember. Some words seemed easy, but others were difficult to pronounce or understand. I had a notebook full of new words, and I felt like I would never be able to remember them all. But instead of feeling overwhelmed, I broke it down into small pieces. I focused on learning a few words each day. I tried to use them in sentences or write them down to practice. Slowly, I started remembering more and more words. It wasn't fast, but every day I added a few more words to my vocabulary. One day, I realized I could read a whole page of a book without stopping to check the dictionary every few minutes. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and that made me feel proud. Learning English took time, and sometimes I felt like I didn't have enough of it. There were days when I had too many things to do, and I thought I couldn't find time to study. But I realized that I didn't need hours of study every day. Even 10 minutes a day could make a big difference. I started setting aside small moments throughout my day, maybe during lunch or before bed, to practice. I listened to English podcasts or read simple articles. Slowly, I built a routine, and those small moments added up to big progress. How I overcame these challenges, I learned that challenges are a normal part of the process. Everyone faces obstacles when learning something new. The key is not to give up. When things got tough, I reminded myself that I was on a journey, and that every step, no matter how difficult, was bringing me closer to my goal. I also learned to ask for help when I needed it. If I didn't understand something, I asked a friend or searched online. The important thing was to keep moving forward. The challenges I faced were hard, but they helped me grow stronger as a learner. I realized that I could face difficult moments and still keep going, and when I finally overcame these challenges, I felt even more proud of my progress. So, if you're facing challenges, don't give up. Keep going, even when it feels tough. Remember, every challenge is just another opportunity to learn and grow. You are stronger than you think, and every day is a chance to get better. Just like me, you can overcome these challenges and keep moving forward on your journey to learning English. As I continued on my journey, I began to notice something incredible. Learning English wasn't just about the challenges or the hard work. It was also about the rewards. These rewards didn't always come in big moments, but in the little things that happened every day. One of the best rewards of learning English was being able to connect with people from different parts of the world. I remember one afternoon when I met someone from another country. They spoke only a little English, and I was nervous about speaking, but I decided to try, and we had a simple conversation. We talked about where we were from, our favorite foods, and what we liked to do. Even though we didn't speak perfectly, we understood each other, and it felt amazing. I realized that learning English opened up a whole new world of friendships. Suddenly, I could talk to people from different cultures and learn about their lives. Another reward was being able to enjoy movies in English. At first, I always relied on subtitles, but as my English improved, I started watching without them. It felt like magic. I could finally understand the jokes, the emotions, and the stories. I didn't need to pause the movie every few minutes to check the meaning of a word. One day, I was watching an English film, and I laughed at a funny scene. I understood the punchline perfectly, and it felt great to know that I was truly understanding the language. This made me excited to watch even more movies in English and continue learning. Reading books in English became another special reward. At first, reading in English felt like a challenge, but after some time I started picking up books that were easier to understand. I started with short stories and simple novels. Each time I finished a book, it felt like a huge accomplishment. I remember the first time I finished a whole book in English without needing a dictionary. The story was simple, but the experience was powerful. I realized that learning English allowed me to enjoy stories in a way I hadn't before. Learning English also helped me feel more confident in many areas of my life. Before, I was shy about speaking or writing in English, but now I was more willing to try. I felt like I could do more and be more confident in myself. For example, one day I had to give a short speech in English at an event. I was nervous, but I remembered how much I had already learned. I took a deep breath, spoke slowly, and shared my thoughts. Even though I made a few mistakes, the audience smiled and listened carefully. That moment made me realize how much my confidence had grown. I could do things I never thought I would be able to do. Another reward was that I began to understand the world better. English is the language of international communication, and learning it helped me access a wealth of information. I could read news articles from different countries, watch videos from all over the world, and understand the ideas and opinions of people from different cultures. This opened my eyes to new perspectives and ideas. I realized that learning English wasn't just about the language, it was about opening doors to a bigger world. The most exciting reward of all was realizing how learning English opened up new opportunities for me. Whether it was in my job, when traveling, or in my studies, English gave me the tools to do more and reach higher goals. I began to see the endless possibilities of what I could achieve by continuing to improve my English. I could apply for jobs in different countries, study at international universities, or simply travel and speak with people from everywhere. The more I learned, the more I realized how much English could help me in my personal and professional life. Perhaps the greatest reward of all was the sense of accomplishment that came with every step forward. Every time I learned a new word, understood a sentence, or had a conversation in English, I felt proud of myself. At first, I couldn't imagine being able to do these things, but each small success added up, and I began to realize how far I had come. Looking back, I could see how much I had grown, and that made me excited to keep going. The final reward was the joy of being able to share my knowledge with others. As I grew in my English skills, I was able to help others who were just starting. I could share tips and encouragement with friends, family, and even strangers. It felt wonderful to be able to give back and help others along their journey, just as I had been helped by others at the beginning. Learning English is a long journey, and it comes with both challenges and rewards. But the rewards, whether it's connecting with new people, enjoying movies and books, feeling more confident, or gaining opportunities for the future, are worth every step. So, if you're just starting your own English learning journey, remember this: the rewards are waiting for you, just like they were for me. Every step you take brings you closer to those rewards, and they will make all your hard work worth it. Keep going, and enjoy the amazing rewards that come with learning English. As I reflect on my journey, I feel a deep sense of pride. When I first began, I was unsure if I would be able to reach my goals. I was nervous, afraid of making mistakes, and uncertain about how far I could go. But now, looking back, I see just how much I've accomplished. Every small step I took, every challenge I faced, and every success, no matter how small, brought me closer to my goal. Today, I can speak, listen, read, and write in English with more confidence than I ever thought possible. And the best part is that I'm not done yet. There is still so much more to learn, and I'm excited for every new lesson that comes my way. I remember feeling overwhelmed at first, wondering where to start. It felt like there were so many things I needed to know, and I didn't know how to begin. But now I realize that the journey doesn't need to be rushed. Learning English is a process, and every day is an opportunity to improve, even if just a little bit. What matters is taking that first step, then the next, and then the next. Each step you take will bring you closer to where you want to be. Now I want to encourage you, my friends, to take that first step. I know it might feel difficult, and you may have doubts along the way, but trust me, every step forward is a step toward success. The road to learning English is not always easy, but it is definitely worth it. The more you practice, the better you will become. And the more you learn, the more you'll be able to do with your new skills. Think about all the amazing things you could achieve by learning English. You could talk to people from all around the world, understand movies and songs in their original language, read books and articles in English, or even travel and communicate with ease. English can open so many doors for you, both in your personal life and your professional career. Remember, you don't need to be perfect right away. No one speaks or understands everything in English perfectly, not even native speakers. It's okay to make mistakes. Every mistake is just an opportunity to learn and grow. The important thing is that you keep going, no matter how small the progress may seem at times. Each day you study, you are building your English skills. Every time you practice speaking, writing, listening, or reading, you are getting closer to your goal. I want you to imagine where you could be in a few months or even a year if you continue to learn and practice every day. Think about how much more confident you will feel. Think about how much easier it will be to communicate with others in English. Your dream of speaking English fluently is not out of reach. It is waiting for you, step by step. I understand that it can feel overwhelming at times, but remember that you are not alone on this journey. We are all learning together, and each person's progress is valuable. If I can do it, so can you. If I can overcome the challenges, so can you. Every learner has the ability to succeed, and you have the power to make that happen. As you begin your own English learning journey, keep this in mind. Start small, but stay consistent. Don't worry about how long it will take. Just focus on taking one small step today and then another tomorrow. Before you know it, you'll look back and see how far you've come. I know that the first steps may feel a little scary, but take them with confidence. You are capable of more than you think. And as you continue your journey, you will discover that learning English isn't just about the language. It's about discovering new opportunities, making new connections, and growing in ways you never imagined. So, my friends, I encourage you to start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because that moment may never come. Take the first step and keep moving forward, even on the days when it feels hard. Your future self will thank you for the effort you put in today. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, brings you closer to your goal. The journey may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. You've already taken the first step by deciding to learn, and now it's time to keep going. Believe in yourself, trust the process, and keep moving forward. The world is waiting for you, and English is the key that will help unlock it. Take your first step and let the adventure begin.